Hey there, hey there. Well, I'm glad to have you on, Renee,
Oh,
and
thank you for
new
having me
biz.
on again.
Yes, we love our reoccurring guests. 'Cause we know what to expect from our reoccurring guests. So that's always good for us. So we gonna give it a minute and hopefully people pop in with us. I know they probably not even sure because we've taken a little bit of a hiatus. Sometimes we just gotta
Right.
recenter. I had to recenter myself because healers need healing too. So I had to really
Come
Absolutely.
on.
to
Come
focus
on.
on
Absolutely.
me.
Healers
You
need
calling it?
healers. Therapists need therapists.
Yes, indeed.
Hey,
Yes, indeed.
just
You
like
calling
that.
it?
It's true. And if I'm in no position to help someone else if I don't follow advice that I give, and that's something that's
Hmm.
super important to me. And so I had to take that self-care time and reevaluate, rejuvenate,
Absolutely.
recuperate, all that needs
Hmm.
to be done. So I'm feeling better and glad to have this talk because this is one of the things that definitely was at the forefront of me practicing what I preach and focusing on me and getting me there and just really talking about therapy and digging in and how deep and important it is for us to move forward no matter how strong
Hmm.
you are, no matter what you do on a day-to-day basis, no matter how happy you may think you are.
Hmm.
Therapy is always, always, always an important tool for us to have. So we gonna get into this conversation. I'm gonna put
Okay.
this phone on vibrate. But Miss Renee, can you please share with our audience your new accomplishments and the platform in which you're going to be speaking to everybody today about therapy matters for this next hour? And then
Okay.
going to spend that hour with us and hop off. And then Nat and I will continue the conversation of why
Okay.
therapy is important and why it matters. But share with our couple of people that's watching right now. Hopefully, more people will join us in a little bit. If not, they can always watch it later about your new accomplishment and
Okay.
achieve.
All right. Well, one of the things is I'm currently in graduate school for clinical mental health counseling. And I recently was certified as a hypnotherapist or a hypnotist. And I know, this is something, especially in our community, but most people look at hypnosis as hoodoo.
Mm-hmm.
They do. They think it's the stage shows or what is this movie? Catch Me If Not Catch Me If You Can, but the one about the magicians.
Oh, now you
Um,
see
Mm.
it.
Now you see it. It's
Now
a
you see it. Yeah.
Mhm.
They look at those, and those are examples of like stage hypnotists, where somebody barks like a dog, or they don't know where they are, or they have them on stage doing some crazy wild things. Okay, so this is stage hypnotism that you see in movies and Las Vegas and all of that kind of thing. So hypnotism has been used for centuries to help people with medical problems
Mm.
and to help people with therapy, mental problems, that kind of thing. What hypnosis does is it deals with the subconscious. So I know we've seen TV shows where people do, oh, this is a certain type of hypnosis, is age regression.
Mhm.
Okay, now you're 8 years old and you're in that scene when you're 8 years old and you're trying to figure out, what happened in the particular time in your life at that time. Well, some people need that kind of age regression to go back and figure out what is the source of this problem that I'm having. Because the subconscious deals with our long term memory,
Mm.
our habits, things we do just automatically without thinking. Some people call it the unconscious part of our mind. So there are things that we do and we don't even think about it because it's embedded in our subconscious.
Mhm.
So that's what a hypnotist does under hypnosis, which is nothing but a trance, really. Um, and you can put yourself into trance. So you don't really need a hypnotist to put yourself into trance. You need someone to maybe teach you how to do it. But you don't really need a hypnotist to put yourself into trance. And that's one of the things I try to teach people when I have sessions with them, is how to do their own self-hypnosis.
And I like that. We talked about that in depth not too long ago, and I am planning to definitely sign up for that, which is also the same thing as meditation in a sense, right? So that's exactly what you do when you're meditating is you're, self-hypnosis. You're channeling all of that subconscious energy, and you're tapping into that, and that's how manifestation happen and all of those things. And so I think that there's such a taboo, as you said, about hypnosis, that we don't even look at the fact that it's already becoming a staple in a lot of our mental health on a day-to-day basis.
It is.
And meditation.
The mental health field is definitely opening up to mindfulness, meditation, and all of these things, realizing that this is really scientifically helping people to overcome their problems. Because really, all it is looking inward. Then really, all of it is getting someplace quiet where you can look inward, and you'd be surprised how you can solve your own problems under the right guidance of just looking on the inside and meditating about your problems, but not in a way of worry. See, doing it from a state of relaxation is a whole different ball game when you do it from relaxation, because you can close your eyes and you still see the same devils that you saw when your eyes were open, and you're like, this is not helpful at all.
Fact.
But if you learn how to tune all that out, this is something that my sister, who is a therapist down in Georgia, when I was telling her what I was studying, me being a new grad student, she said, they're teaching you guys about neuroscience and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of emphasis on how our brain affects our body. That there is actually a mind-body connection. And this is what if I had to say anything to us as African Americans, that we need to get in touch with that mind-body connection. We can.
And I would encourage to add the spirit in there too.
Yes. But you know what, Natalie? A lot of times we got the spiritual part.
I was going to say that I think that we do a good job of that one way or another. I think Black people have always found a way to tap into the spirituality portion.
Yes.
But the mental health portion has always been something I'm super passionate about, because it's the greatest way that we neglect ourselves. And I never understood it. It's like, you feel something in your stomach, you're going to go and, see a doctor. If you notice something's going on with your heart, you're going to go and see that cardiologist, right? If you get the sniffles, you're going to call and make a wellness visit. But we neglect our brain so much, which is super interesting because it controls everything. So our bodies can live without the heart for a few minutes, right? Without constantly pumping that blood, but your body cannot live without the brain.
That's absolutely right.
You have to take care of it, and we don't do that. And so therapy is just super important. We just don't realize just how much the neglect affects our day-to-day. If you're exhausted a lot, usually that's tapped into your brain more than your physical exertion. You're mentally drained. You're emotionally drained.
Yes.
It takes a lot for your brain to work and keep the body functioning properly. So you got to take care of it. And I just really think that we neglect that so much. So you mentioned something that I wanted you to touch on a little bit more, because I think it's super important. You talked about behavior and how it's so much tethered to our unconscious, our subconscious, which we know that we talk about generational trauma, etc. here. Can you talk more about that and how important it is to be aware of what's lurking in our subconscious? Because it does play in the background. It's like those running apps in the background that runs down your phone, right? You like, I know I just charged my phone and this battery is dead already. Well, it's the same thing for our subconscious. So can you talk a little bit more about that and why hypnosis is a good way of taking care of that?
Well, one of the things that we hold in our subconscious long-term memory. And as you know, as a child, we might learn certain ways to do things. And our first few years of life, we're getting imprinted by what we see around us. Mm-hmm. That gets stuck in our subconscious. And sometimes we react to situations without even thinking about it. I'll use an example. When I was coming up, my father grew up during a lot of the segregation of the South. So his mentality was all white people are out to get you. Mm. Okay. Well, hearing that constantly around my family, my house or whatever, I had a certain view without even thinking about it, of caution, of a guard up, a wall up. And little things like that get stuck in our subconscious. Always cleaning your plate when you eat. Not letting anybody one up you in an argument. Maybe eating out of stress. That this is the way, what your go-to in dealing with stress, or whatever you do to deal with stress. These are things that get stuck in our long-term memory, and we just do them as adults, and we don't really know why. This is just something I do. We say, that's me. That's just me. That's how I do.
Yep.
It comes from somewhere.
All the time.
It comes from somewhere in our subconscious. And so what hypnosis can do is it can help us to get in a relaxed state where we can go back and figure out where that came from, why we have this certain behavior. For example, a person that smokes. Maybe the first reason that they smoked was they wanted to look cool. They just started out. Now it's just a part of them. But what a hypnotist would do is go back to that first time they picked up a cigarette. And what was their feeling? What was it they were trying to capture when they first started? And how is that affecting their constant need? Now it's become a physical need. So it's blending the mental need to do this with something that what you would do is something that's negative. You would blend that in the subconscious with this thing that they love to do, so that it has a negative feeling for them when they reach for that cigarette. So that's the work that is done under hypnotic suggestion. So incidentally, that is the difference between meditation and hypnosis. Hypnosis, you're given suggestions. That's the part people are afraid of. But that is the work.
Right.
It's actually giving you suggestions. And most of the time we will tape the portion of the hypnosis session where you can hear the usual mantras that I'm giving you, the suggestions that I'm giving you, that you no longer want to smoke. You no longer have a desire to smoke. Say they hate pudding. And every time you pick up a cigarette, it tastes like chocolate pudding, and you hate chocolate pudding. So they will go about their day, but something is going to be like, I don't like this. And so it works with the subconscious to help them do what they really want to do, which is stop smoking. So even though you're 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 conscious during hypnosis, what it does is it puts you in a state where you're more susceptible to a suggestion that will stick in the subconscious. So,
So
yeah.
kind of like lowering your your defensive guards, right? Because I think a huge part of trauma is that we get very defensive around the trauma. We get protective of the
Oh,
trauma essentially
absolutely.
at times because it becomes so much a part of us, and we don't always know how to operate without it because, as we know, trauma does affect our behavior, right? So you
Of
brought up
that security blanket.
that security blanket, right? You were bringing up that your father grew up in segregation, and so his protection to his trauma was to be leery
Yeah, right.
leery of white people or people that are
Right.
not black. And so we get very attached to our traumas because also they help protect us sometimes, but there's a positive way to do it and there's a healthy way to do it. And what I like about hypnosis is that it lowers those defensive guards, right? The walls we have around the trauma so that we can see that we don't have to have it to be protected, to feel better, to be
Yeah.
cautious, right? And so
Right.
we can't do that in healing at all without lowering your guard. That's what therapy requires you to do altogether. And so it's no different with hypnosis, and which is funny because a lot of people still have that stigma about hypnosis. So I'm hoping to change that today because now you already have me reeled in where I'm just like, I want to know more about this, when we talked about it. And I even started researching on my own after we originally spoke and you agreed to come on and talk about it because there's so many benefits to it that we're not even aware of. Can you talk more about the benefits?
Well, one of the things I specialize in is stress management. So, and what I do is I teach people progressive relaxation. So, so that's something where you do almost like a body scan. If you're familiar with like some Eastern religions, a chakra.
Chakra, yeah. I know
chakra.
now you know about chakras.
And so you go throughout your whole body and you the body has a physical reaction when you tense it up and then tell it to relax. So you go throughout the body, tense your eye area, then have it relax. Tense the muscles in your face, then have it relax. And you can just go throughout your body and you're thinking of a scene that is the most pleasant scene you can think of. Because we always deal with positivity in hypnosis. So we try to create a pleasant scene, and you tell me what that pleasant scene is. And once you tell me what that pleasant scene is, we'll talk about, can you feel this? Let's say it's a beach. Can you feel the sand under your feet? Do you feel the wind? Do you feel the sun on your skin? To put you in that scene of relaxation. And once you're in that scene, then we give you suggestions about allowing your body to let go, to completely let go. I might give you an imagery like you're on a cloud and you're sitting in a chair that's on the cloud and it's taking you wherever you want to go, to the fun place that you love to go. Maybe you know how some of us like to hide in closets when we were a child and
wow,
just
I still
like,
have to have in a closet go from these
that's my little secret place.
Eat snacks in there. My candy stashes in there.
There you go. So if that's your great place, I leave that up to you where you want to go in your mind and just talk to you while you're in hypnosis. You can talk to me actually while you're in hypnosis.
I think a lot of people don't think that. You just
you can talk.
Like you have zero control over your over your body after that point with hypnosis. So you still have autonomy over yourself.
Absolutely.
Under the trance. Okay. That's important, y'all.
Right. You can come out of hypnosis anytime you want to. It's a very permissive type of trance that you're in. So we use a lot of permissive language, like in a few moments, if you will allow your body to completely relax from head to toe, your mind and body are so relaxed. You're so relaxed right now. And as you listen to my voice, you are allowing your body to relax. Now, there are levels of hypnosis. So most work that is done, like smoking cessation, weight loss, uh, progressive relaxation, and that kind of thing, you only really need to be in level 1 or 2 of hypnosis. Even some regression work, where you're going back to a traumatic situation. Um, there are certain levels of trauma where you're just going back and talking to the person that traumatized you. That's
Ooh.
not really deep hypnosis. My teachers tell me that's not even really full hypnosis, but there is some trauma work that you can do under hypnosis. And it's mostly visualizing, and I've seen this done where you go back and you talk to the person that you hate, you're angry at, you're traumatized, you hurt you, and you talk to them and say what you want to say. It's not pretty because you say what you want to say, whether you want to curse at them or whatever it is, you say what you feel.
That actually sounds like some work that I do with
Mhm.
I've done it with young people, but I've also done it with adults, and it's healing through acting. And so I have them create monologues where they
Mhm.
go back to a traumatic situation and they can pick what kind of angle they want to attack
Yeah.
it at, if they're speaking to themselves about that situation, if they're speaking to the person who may have hurt them or
Mhm.
whatever. But I also teach them the acting techniques so that they can truly perform, but they're
Mhm.
also really just living out that moment and getting it
Yes.
out. And it's some
Oh, yes.
great results for that. Like, it was
Absolutely.
moments where people were saying things that they had never told anyone or said out loud before,
Mhm.
and then here they are confronting
Right.
it, not only in general but in front of other people. It's also
Yes.
very empowering as well.
Yes.
I
Very true.
agree. I mean, when you hear actors talk about having to have scenes with extreme emotion, that's essentially what they do is tap into that time.
Mhm.
And one of the most memorable for me was when they talk about that scene from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Will
Mm.
Smith had the father scene and
Yeah.
Mhm.
the level of acting. Like, I can't watch to this day. I watch that and I get choked up every single
Mhm.
time. The emotion, like, I can't help it because you knew that although the father in that situation was fictional, he was talking to his real father and
Mhm.
he was able to say to him what he probably had never been able to say to him. And I'm
Yes.
sure he's seen that. It's like an
Yeah.
iconic scene. There's no
Yeah.
way you haven't seen it. So he got the message. And I just think that it's amazing both what Nat does and especially like the hypnosis and giving people that opportunity to do that because that's so much of why people hold on to trauma for so
Mhm.
long is never having the opportunity to say their piece or speak their feelings.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's impossible. The person's either passed on or they're
Mhm.
Yeah.
not available,
Mhm.
and all of that. It's freeing. It's very freeing. I had a client one time whose father never hugged him, never told him he loved him, alcoholic situation. And I had him visualize talking to really his whole family because a lot of times when you've suffered abuse, you blame other members of your family because they didn't do
Mhm.
anything.
Yeah.
And so, and he talked to them, all of them, about how he felt about them. And I asked him, "Can you visualize this person in front of you? And can you send them any love?
Mm.
Can you send them any love?" And it takes a process, but sometimes in those states, people think about what's wrong with this person that they did this to me.
Mhm.
What was their problem?
The but
that
why
they
of
did
it
this
all.
to me.
The but why? Yes.
The but why.
Yes.
But why? Yes.
Mhm. What was their problem that they did this to me? And sometimes they can find just a little portion of forgiveness. And what would you imagine that they would say back to you? And sometimes it's like, well, they would just curse me out. They would, some people are so damaged.
Yeah.
So this is where the person has to resolve it within themselves. This person's never going to give you the resolution that you're looking for. So can you forgive them? Can you let that go? Seeing that they obviously had a problem. Can you do that? And there's something about being in that trance-like meditative state that's lasting for people. Because sometimes as life goes on, it's just too difficult to sit down and think about these things, and they're difficult to think about. I had one hypnotist tell me that he specializes in age regression, and he said, "You never want pain. Nobody wants pain. Nobody wants to face pain." He said, but all of his clients go through this phase when they go through age regression, when they start going back in time and they start meeting traumatic things. They're like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go
Yes.
there.
Yes. It's true. People
but
run
he's
from
a
their
specialist in age regression, and he knows how to get them to go back to that place of trauma. So, yeah.
And I have a question for you. What made you want to go into this field? What either piqued your interest, or what was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I need.
Well, one of the things is I underwent hypnosis. I had been going to a therapist for a couple of years, and we were doing talk therapy. There was a certain place I was not getting to that she kept telling me, you're just not getting to that place of healing at all. She was very frank with me. She was like, you're not getting there. And she said, we seem like we're just going around in circles. So she said, would you like to try hypnosis? I said, yeah, I'll try it. And I had happened to have a situation. I was trying to learn how to do some public speaking, like Toastmasters type of thing. And one of the things they asked was, what was your most embarrassing moment? And I gave the little speech and everything. And all of a sudden, I had this trauma moment where I was just like right there in that embarrassing moment. And I almost stopped doing my speech because it just came over me. It was like I was there. And I was like, I'm not ready to talk about this. Why am I not ready to deal with this? Why is this not some just memory in the past? Why does it feel like it's right now? So I talked to her about that, and she said, you'd be a good candidate for hypnosis. So she did some pre-work. We always do pre-work, what they call a pre-talk, where we find out what's your safe place. Because if you're going back to a place that might traumatize you, then I have to take you back to a good place. Because we never want to leave the client where they're having negative feelings, where they're staying in that negative place. So we'll go back and forth between your safe place and your difficult place and just ease you into it. So she took me all the way back to that scene that bothered me. And I could feel the actual shame that I felt when I was 8 years old, because she took me back to when I was 8, and I could feel that actual shame. But I could remember that scene so well, who told on me, what the scene was, what my mother said, everything, and I realized a lot of stuff just going back to that place. I said, I've always had a problem with shame. I've always gotten embarrassed easily. And when I'm in small group, when I was in large groups, I didn't have a problem. It was those small, intimate groups that I was self-conscious with. I said, why is that? That bothered me. I could speak in front of hundreds of people. As you know, I used to be a minister and all that. But the small groups, that's what bothered me. And I couldn't figure that out. Well, when I was a child, a lot of times it was those small groups of people that maybe bullied me and did things to me. And it was always just the few people, And so without going back to hypnosis, of course, I was just crying and, going on, but I felt such a release because I was able to see where that feeling came from. I mean, at the time I was 55. So for most of my life, I didn't know why I always felt so self-conscious about being in small groups and why I would freeze up and be, just tongue-tied. So I got to the root of it. Something that would have taken maybe another couple of years of talk therapy. And I'm telling you, they have come up with so many therapeutic methods to cut down the talk therapy. And the therapy industry is really starting to open up about brief methods, brief solutions. I'm going to tell you about one of them because it's free on the internet, and it's called PS Tech. It's a hypnotic technique this guy in Australia came up with. I see please go find it. Please go find it because that is the bomb. I'm telling you, that is
PS Tech.
PS Tech.
Say that. Okay.
And this gentleman in Australia came up with this, and it works. It absolutely works. What it does, it somewhat puts you in a hypnosis state through a recording, but it's only 11 minutes long. And it takes the emotion out of what you're dealing with. So say, for example, you're angry. Or say you had an incident happen and you're feeling a certain kind of way about it and you can't seem to get over. You keep rolling over in your mind. You're just trying to, okay, let's just move on. That person made me angry, but it'll have you concentrate on that incident and do tapping.
Tapping?
Tapping, actually. Tapping. Mm-hmm. Tapping your hand and doing it to a certain sounds that the tape gives you. Now, what that does is very similar to hypnosis, is it puts you in a certain trance and it tells you, try as hard as you can to feel what you're feeling. By the time you get halfway through that tape, you can't feel nothing. You don't feel anything. You can remember the incident, but that anger that maybe came up or that hurt that came up when you when you thought about it, gone. That's how powerful your mind is.
And it's so important because we don't realize how much anger fuels the trauma that we feel, right? And then it makes it almost impossible for us to let it go. Like when you really take a step back and you remove the emotion, you think about things a little bit differently. Right. And most of the times when we're reacting to something that hurt us in an extreme way, maybe we're cursing that person out, we're yelling, it's because we're triggered. That trauma has been triggered. Somebody has flipped that switch. So if you take that switch away, all of the yelling or the fighting or whatever you do as a result of being triggered goes away. So I think that's absolutely powerful. I think hypnosis is
amazing.
absolutely right. It's
Yes.
absolutely
And
powerful.
it really shows you how powerful our minds are.
Right.
And God gave us our minds.
Mhm.
I run into sometimes religious people that are skeptical about hypnosis.
Mhm.
Um, and I always say to them, it's trance work. So when you have prayer and you go in your closet and pray to God in secret and you shut everything out, it's really very similar. And in the book of Acts, when Peter was up on the roof and he was praying, the Bible says he was what? In a trance.
Yeah.
It's
You
just
gotta
as
break it
simple
down
as
sometimes.
You just it's so many things, which is why I'm so glad we're having this conversation because what
Even
people don't
meditation, though.
even
A lot of
meditation.
religious
even
people are like,
meditation is
"Oh,
very good.
meditation," but
It's just
meditation isn't
right.
attached to any religion, and even in the
Right.
Bible, it's mentioned multiple times throughout the
Mhm.
Bible.
But
Meditation,
prayer is
Yeah.
meditation.
Meditate, right?
right? It's
Prayer
in
is
there quite a few
meditation.
times.
You understand? Channeling, connecting to God, that requires meditation. And I
Hmm.
think what it is that especially when certain things have been rooted to our culture or our heritage from
Hmm.
before we were, slaves, etc., has been demonized. It's been made to
Yes,
sound like it's
very
such
true.
a bad thing, but it's not. And there's reasons that we're able to do these things and channel these things. They are all part of us being able to reach that spiritual place and us being able to reach that healthy place. And stripping us of that has been one of the greatest dangers to us as a
Yes,
community, honestly.
yes,
And so
yeah,
we need to start claiming that back for ourselves and reaching out for
yes.
the resources that we have and not shaming each other for them. Which will be the second part of the oh, we gonna talk, is just taking away the shame, taking away the stigma
Hmm.
in our community about therapy, because it works if you do the work.
And
Yeah.
one thing I love
Hmm.
about your story, and the reason actually why I asked what got you interested in
Mhm.
hypnotherapy, because a lot of people, they'll hear a therapist talk about therapy and they're like, oh, okay, yeah. It's almost like you paid to say that, But for you, it was your own experience with this
Yeah,
new type of therapy,
right,
which aids in what you said earlier. Therapists go to therapy,
right.
they have a
Yeah,
therapist,
absolutely.
and healers need to be healed, and
That's
all of
right.
those things. Because if you're a giver, which is essentially what that is, you're pouring into
Mhm.
other people's cup,
Right,
you're working with others, you're helping to heal and work with others. You can
right.
end up depleted if you don't take the time to pour back
Yes,
into
yeah.
yourself.
But I'm also absorbing. So, like, as an
Exactly.
Hmm.
empath, not
You're
only
taking
am I
on other
pouring
people's
into
things.
you, I'm absorbing your energy and it becomes part of
Hmm.
my space and part of my energy. So we have
Yes.
to cleanse that. We have to work on that and we have to deal with that. Vicarious trauma is a huge thing.
Hmm.
And I don't think people recognize how much my loved one's pain becomes my pain, right?
Yes.
I work in sexual assault, so my client's pain becomes my pain when I'm
And
hearing their
even
story.
now,
Hmm.
with social media and media in
Oh,
general being the way it is, we're feeling people's pains from across the globe.
across the
Absolutely.
globe.
It's such a good point. Such a good point. You
and
know,
Yeah.
and
we're
that affects us. Like the George Floyd incident affects
well,
people.
all of us were stressed out. I
The
mean,
How You See Us film,
Heal.
Ava DuVernay on Netflix,
yeah,
like that
Heal.
that trauma of our stories finally being
right.
seen and told, even though we've
Hmm.
known it's been happening forever, it's different when you see it, when you
Yes.
feel it with people acting it out or emoting, or when you see it live and live in color, the
Right.
actual incident
Real, for real.
happening. It hits you differently, and that's a trauma that's now embedded. And especially we want to talk about therapy and going to therapy and normalizing. We have to do that
Hmm.
for our children as well, because imagine all the things we have built up as
Hmm.
adults, but the things that
Right.
they're currently going through in a brand new age that we can't even fully walk them through, like seeing all of the police brutality on the TV screen on
Yes.
their phones, and they're trying to figure out what life is, and they've been taught that these people are the people that's supposed to protect them, and
Hmm.
having a young mind and trying to compute that. Like I
Yes.
know for sure my nephew was having problems with that. My one of my younger nephews, he's
Hmm.
about 8 years old, and he's seeing this, and now he's afraid of the police, and so having these conversations with young people, sometimes as parents we can't always help, so we have to find someone that can, and talking to a therapist or possibly doing hypnotherapy and finding other avenues to help heal these babies so they don't have to grow up with these traumas that lead to more trauma.
I really hope we do pass that on to our children. I really do. I didn't have that. My friends didn't have that in my age group growing up. Therapy was very stigmatized. I'm not crazy, mentality. If you
I
went
didn't
to
buy you're not crazy. That's for white people. Like
yes,
that's a white person thing. White people go to talk to somebody.
But to a certain extent, I want to say that it was not that it was right, but that it was because we didn't have the luxury.
We didn't have the luxury. It was, but even though because the idea was that it was only for that, and not that it was for healing, stifled us from having those accessibility.
And that's a massive problem.
And that's a massive problem.
Because now that, I'm going to use my air quotes, we have the luxury of being able to maybe afford or go to one, we still don't take advantage of that opportunity because it's still a white person thing, or if it's not just a white person thing, going back to the I'm not crazy, I don't need to talk to anyone. It's also the shame in the Black family of you don't need help. That's just like your grandma talking about how things are instilled in you as a young person. Your mom or your grandma, all right, don't you go in these people's house asking for no food. You already, hey, like, help me good, right? Like even sometimes when you weren't, it was like, but still, you're not gonna let nobody outside this household know what's going on or that we need help or whatever. We have to be able to retrain ourselves and to teach our young people that it's okay to get help when you need help. And that's basically what it comes down to when it's talking about breaking the stigma of therapy. If you need help, seek help, and it may not even be a huge traumatic thing that you need help with. Life is just stressful in general.
And I think that's the problem that we need to start with first, is just being able to admit to ourselves that we need help. That is a huge issue amongst Black women in our communities. We don't allow ourselves to say that I need help, that I'm struggling, that I can't today, or I can't handle this load. Yes, we are full of Black girl magic, but we are also human too. And so it doesn't take away from our magic to be exhausted. It doesn't take away from our magic to be, hurt, to be in trauma, to have someone have done something to us that sticks with us. It doesn't take away from our magic. The magic is in us being resilient and getting past that. And in order for us to have that resiliency, we have to be willing to go through it. And I think one of the points we didn't touch on, and I want to revisit that's super important, is that talking about the roadblock in talk therapy, because I think that also deters a lot of people for going back. I've heard countless people say, well, I started therapy and it didn't work for me. It didn't do anything for me, and I quit. And usually what happens is talk therapy gets to a point where if that person isn't willing to have that conversation with you, you can't go. It won't work. It won't happen. And so hypnosis is a way around that and letting that guard down, because what really happens in talk therapy when you hit that roadblock is that person has hit that painful part, right? But they hit that part, that thorn, where it's like, I just can't do it because this almost I don't want to talk about it. So they get scared. They get right there. They face the demon. They see it there, and they're like, yeah, I'm just I'm good. And they run away. They run away from it. And why I think that having a combination option of talk therapy and hypnosis is probably the answer that a lot of us needed, that did not go through with therapy or hit that roadblock or have convinced ourselves that I've gotten all that I've needed out of it. No, you don't. As long as you're living on this earth, you're going to be injured again in one way or another. And so therapy is ongoing. You may not need it as much. Like you may once go on every week, and now you're every other or once a month. But you're going to always need that support, that mental, emotional stability. And so we want to make sure that it's not enough to just start it. We want you to keep going. We don't want you
to. And another thing, is that a lot of people are seeking therapists in friends and family members.
Oh, you can't.
And
They don't even allow you as therapists or in the mental health field to treat someone. It's an ethical violation. So you
right.
Right.
And that's the thing. It'll be the same people that's like, oh, I don't need to talk to no therapist. But every day you on the phone with your girl or your mama or grandma and you venting and you talking about all these things you're going through. Essentially, I would love if people would think about therapy in that same way. It's just talking to someone. It's getting it the information out. Someone who's not attached to you in a way that they're going to be biased, because a lot of times you talk to your girl, the information coming back going to be skewed. You know what I'm saying? Or what your mama going to talk to you a different way.
But honestly, though, Nat, that's why a lot of people steer away from it and they feel more comfortable talking to the friend. Because in all honesty, when you're ready to heal, you're not looking for validation. You're looking for understanding and you're looking for a way to change the behavior. When you really get to that point where you're like, I'm trying to heal, healing is very different from comfort. So when people are talking to their friends and their loved ones, what they're actually looking for is comfort and validation. They're looking for someone to say, it's okay for you to feel that way. And you do get that in therapy. You absolutely, a good therapist is going to validate your feelings and let you know that you have every right to feel how you feel, but they're going to also hold you accountable for your common denominator in that.
Right.
Like, how do you play a role in that trauma, or how do you play a role in not allowing this trauma to affect you again in the future? And so I think that a lot of people look for the friends and family to make them feel better in a moment. And that's so superficial. Like, therapy is meant to dig deep to the core. It's going to pull all them roots out.
Mirror.
It's a
we
mirror.
have to have a mirror, and it's the reflective work that I think is missing in a large component, I want to say, of life. Like, I don't know the numbers, but in my opinion, it seems like a majority, or if not a majority, a lot of people have a really hard time taking a good hard look at themselves and their actions. We talked about this in the relationship episodes of how a person can get into one relationship and do all these things wrong that they don't even see that they're doing wrong, and then get out of that relationship and hop right into another relationship without taking the time to sit back and go, okay, what happened here? What role did I play? What did I allow, or whatever it may be?
Miss Renee, is it just me?
No,
I don't know if y'all can hear me.
What's going on? We can hear you fine,
but I don't know what's happening to my picture.
Glitching a lot.
It scared me for a second.
We hear you though.
Okay. It looked demonic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I'm like, what is happening?
What is happening?
Right. I'm not sure what is going on, but hopefully
maybe I should leave and go back in. Somebody said she's trying to hypnotize us.
It's probably some internet.
Oh my God!
Some bad internet.
So Miss Renee, we're gonna exit you out and bring you back in. Hold on one second. Let me try this. Nope, she's still doing it in the waiting room.
Let me do this. Let me leave out.
Hold on. Okay, I'll wait for her to come back. I was like, okay, I'm sister tired now. I know I'm tired and
but am I tripping? Does anyone else?
Am I tripping? I'm like, I ain't had no wine. I ain't had nothing. This is looking a little something weird. But we gonna see if we can get her to come back for the last couple minutes, because I would love to get her closing thoughts on this, because now I sat and talked to her for about an hour one day about hypnosis and just self hypnosis and how it'll help with some things, and it was all streaming around my self-saboteur in me. We all have that that inner voice sometimes that tries to talk us out of doing some things, and so I was telling her that I battle the self-saboteur a lot, like all the time. And although I push through and I keep going, it's always in the back of the mind, lurking there. And she said, you need self-hypnosis, and, that would help. And so we've talked about me signing up for sessions for that, because I'm like, this may be exactly what I need. So I would love to get her closing thoughts on that. I want her to share with us her business info, so that our viewers can definitely sign up. Not before me though, because I'm on my time.
It's about after my appointment. Y'all can do y'all thing.
After my appointment, right?
I think it's great. Mostly for the reasons we talked about already. A lot of times with talk therapy, you only go so far because you have to be willing. And if you are not willing to go to the area that needs the work, then the work can never be done. Right. And so with that, not only will it, like you said, lower the defenses so that you can get to those places, you can also insert some of that suggestion where it's like, maybe it won't hurt as much next time you go back there. Like the PS text she was talking about with the tap therapy is removing the emotions away from that incident so that you can move past it. A lot of times we get stuck on stuff because we have a specific emotion attached to it, whether it be love or lust or anger or sadness. We have a specific emotion attached to it. Like, let's go back to, for just a second, what's the name? What's the show? Real Sex. What's the name of the show?
Sex Life.
Sex Life. There we go.
Oh Lord, let's not go back to the
for
sex.
Just a second.
What? That show.
We're talking about hypnotherapy. I think she could have used some hypnotherapy. Okay.
Am I back? I can't
hear you, but we just see a green screen. So let me try one more time and see. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's still just green, but we see you. I mean, we hear you, and
okay.
We hear you. So we know that you was giving us a good hour of your time. So it's approaching. I know we can't see you, but we want our viewers to definitely get the info for your business. So I gave them the disclaimer that they are more than welcome to sign up after I get my appointments in. Don't be trying to come in on my time. No, but we definitely want you to share with everyone, because this is super beneficial. I think this is always a good additive to the self-care and the self-therapy that we're doing on a day-to-day basis, whether that's self-meditation or that's getting our chakras aligned. I hope I'm saying that right. Or we eating different, getting some sleep. Any extra that we could get helps. To make sure that we're healing and we get into that healthy space. So can you share with our viewers how to reach you, Miss Renee, should they want those services?
So I'm putting in the chat here. I don't know if it's showing up, but my website is reset-hypnosis.com. And I do have a Facebook page. Okay, there we go. Mm-hmm. And I do have a Facebook page. You can just look up Reset Hypnosis, and you can contact me there. And we'll have a good old hypnosis time.
I love it. And we will definitely share the link on the page.
I have a question. Now, is it ethical to treat us since you kind of know us?
Well, I would think it's different from clinical therapy or clinical.
Yeah, this is not right. This is not clinical therapy. This is just a process that's involved in clinical therapy, but it's just a process. And especially what I'm doing, which is just mostly stress reduction and stress management. So that's not too deep.
And what it is an ethical part.
I also want to say I do work on fears and apprehensions, like people are afraid of spiders or afraid of different things, heights and all of that.
I'm not so bad
or
with
clowns.
But the candy
So
guy,
I do
I'm
work
scared
with
of candy
that
guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So
So I
y'all
do
go
work
see
with that.
about Miss Renee. Click this link that's in the comments or copy and paste it however it works on your screen.
Yes,
And make
indeed.
sure y'all see about Miss Renee and get
Thank
your
you.
therapy on. Okay. And hypnotherapy specifically. Let's break down those barriers
Mhm.
and take some of the work off of you to have to actually say it. All right.
Thanks
That's
so much, Miss Renee, for joining us this evening. We
And
gonna
thank you
have
so much for having me.
yes. We always have, between you and Gino, we just love y'all coming on here. Y'all always come with such knowledge,
Absolutely.
just such
Dropping
enlightenment.
all
Thank
types
you.
of gems.
Oh man, all the
We just
time.
be over here
Oh,
catching them.
look, I'm just gonna get a basket, something, just open
Right.
up a
Just sit
garbage
the bag
bag,
next to the computer. All
get
the
it all
gems.
up, all the gems. So just thank you so much for sharing
All right. Thank
with
you.
us. And we look forward to having you back again, Miss Renee. We
All right.
talk about so much. So come back.
Wait, one closing question.
Okay.
Why is therapy important?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Therapy helps you really be you,
Mm-hmm.
the real you, the
Mm-hmm.
real you,
Mm.
with no drama, no baggage, just you.
Yeah.
No mask, just you.
Yes,
No
because so
mask.
many times we're trying to pretend to be other people just to get by.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you're comfortable with yourself, you've done something. You have done something for sure when you're comfortable with you.
The mask we wear are heavy, and we put them on still because we don't have a safe space or feel
Yes.
like we don't have a safe space to be us. But therapy lets us be us in any space, and so we definitely want to have that empowerment. But such, see, there go them jewels again. There go them gems, Miss Renee.
I
Yes,
wasn't gonna let you leave without dropping one last one for us. So
come
we
on
got time
now.
for one
That
last.
was
Thanks for
the
the
time.
opportunity to drop them.
Well, thank you again, Miss Renee. We look forward to having you back on Oh We Gonna Talk, and we love you. And enjoy the rest of your night. Go chill with that
All
grandbaby because
right.
I'm in the background like I want my nana.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye, Miss
Yeah, thank
Renee.
you.
Yes, so we
Yeah.
gonna
I definitely
continue.
may need to try me some hypnotherapy, okay? I need
Listen.
to see about it.
It's
Now,
worth
don't
it.
jump on me, Tante.
Okay.
Don't jump on me, okay? But I have never been to a therapist. It was the pause for me.
You know what, sis, most people haven't, and I haven't had traditional like ongoing sessions, but I have had opportunities to have like quick sessions, quick moments, etc. And so over these past 2 weeks when we were taking a break for Oh We Gonna Talk, that was something that became very important to me because as
Yes.
I was explaining to Miss Renee, I was getting it from all angles. Like every single area of my life needed attention in some way, and there was a lot of things that was going on, hurtful things, from work and family, etc., just stuff. It was like all at once, and it was heavy. It was so heavy, and it was just like, I am always making sure everybody else is doing this. It's time for me to make it a priority to have those ongoing sessions because a lot of these things ain't gonna change. I'm gonna still, be that mom. I'm gonna still be that wife. I'm gonna still be that professional. I'm gonna still be that goal chaser, right? And
Mhm.
I can't always do that when I'm also empathically dealing with everyone else's pain and
Mhm.
healing others. I gotta heal me too. So as hard as it was for them 2 weeks to be like, all right, we gonna take a break. I thought it was gonna be 1 week, but then the week went by and I said, nope, I'm not ready yet. And I thought what a better way than to get it back up and running again is to open up and have a real open and honest discussion on how paramount it is for us to center focus our mental health. Like we have to. Just in these past couple days, from really dealing with the things that I was feeling, my energy is better. Now, when I talk about energy, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about my ability to get up out my bed when that alarm cuts off, where I'm not hitting snooze 1,000 billion times, where it goes off and I'm able to get up and punch in for my day and get my day started. And so we don't realize just how much neglecting our mental health filters into everything. And when you are really understanding of that, you really prioritize mental health. And that's why we need to have these conversations and we need to take that stigma away, because so many of us are hurting and we're hurting in silence. And one of the biggest things that I've had to do the work on is admitting to myself, it's okay for me not to want to do it all. It's okay that today I'm not magic. It's okay that today I don't want to, have a hand and save the world, because I can't put on a cape for you if I can't put on a cape for me. And so I recently just told someone at work, I said, I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate for survivors and victims. I damn well better be that advocate for myself, right? I can't be that advocate for others, and I'm not willing to advocate for myself. So that's why you need to go to therapy, sis, because
absolutely,
as happy as you are and as mom as you are, all of us are dealing with something, and we need to have a safe space and a place to deal with that and walk through it. And it makes us better in the end. Like sometimes what we do is cover up. We put the mask on, and that was something that was very eye-opening for me, where I really was like, my rock bottom was like, okay, yeah, I'm putting on the mask, and that's got to stop. I can't always wear the mask. I can't always show up for someone else if I can't show up for me. So that means we gonna do it, right?
We gonna do it, sis.
Okay.
Oh, we gonna talk to a therapist, okay?
Yes,
oh,
it is so needed. Tell me, what was one of the stigmas you may have had about hypnotherapy before then? Because I know for me it was that, so am I gonna bark like a dog and lose the function over, capacity over my own body and mind? Like that's scary. Like that's a level of nobody want to be in, right? You have me running butt naked down the street. Like what? I don't know how I feel about this. So hearing her say that, no, you still are in control of your body, was like, whew, okay, that kind of
the definition of being submissive.
That's real submission, right?
I'm gonna allow you to.
Right. I'm gonna allow you to hypnotize me. I totally agree. So what was one of the things that you learned that you thought differently about before, Miss Renee?
When you hear hypnotherapy, you do immediately think of something like that. But I think it's also really powerful to understand that, and it could be possibly scary, depending on the type of person you are, to understand that we're being hypnotized every day.
Yeah.
And being open to suggestion and being placed in a trance every day with social TV, with the shows we watch, with social media. We're being hypnotized and being open to suggestion every day. Unless you live over in the Rocky Mountains somewhere or you Amish, you're being hypnotized every day. And so for me, talking to her, and something that I learned or that was reiterated, is the power of our minds. Yes, it can be open to suggestion, but that also means that it's open to suggestion for you. So I talk about manifestation a lot and speaking things into existence a lot. And so as she was talking, that was something that popped up in my head. And she was like, and that's how powerful our minds are. And I'm like, manifestation, and if we can understand that we can control, sometimes it's hard, but inevitably we can control the way we think. We can't control everything that happens to us, of course, but a lot of times we can control our actions and the way we move and shift. And that leads to a chain effect, either bad or good. And so that was kind of reiterated to me in the conversation. And then also that component of we're being hypnotized every day. And so it made the conversation and her telling me these things or telling us these things put in perspective how common um, being hypnotized is, and we just don't acknowledge or understand it or even know that it's happening. So why not go to a hypnotherapist that's going to help you overcome fear or addiction or whatever it may be? Use it for your good because it's being used against you on a daily basis.
What's super important that I really wanted to retouch on, that I just really need emphasize, especially when it comes to thinking about therapy, is that therapy is important foremost because it really taps into our behaviors. Everything we do is linked to something influential in our brains, whether that is a conditioning from our childhood, from how our parents raised
Which
us,
most are.
which most are, whether it's a conditioning from what we observed in society and what we've watched and what we've learned, whether it was
Mhm.
you touch the stove and realize it's hot, so don't touch it again.
Come on.
Every single thing that we do is a reaction from having an experience. It's something that we've experienced before and we're reacting from it. It's the result of what we learned from that experience. And not all the time what we learned is positive or healthy or safe for us. So what therapy allows us to do is to make that connection so that we can make better decisions and we can modify our behavior moving forward. You can't fix a car if you don't know what's wrong with it. If I took my car to the mechanic and I was like, hey, can you fix it? I don't know what's wrong with it, but I'm gonna fix it. Okay, well, what are you gonna do to it? I don't know. I'm just gonna take some stuff apart. Like, no, I don't need you to take the whole car apart. Just fix what's broken. So if you are trying to get to a better you have to know what's broken in the first place so that you can fix it. You can give yourself that tune up. And so it's super important that if you're really trying to grow, if you're really trying to change a level up, we love talking about the level up. Part of the level up is looking back and understanding what brought you to this point. What were your successes? Where were your missteps? And so you don't make them again. And so I really, really want us to get into therapy more, if not for anything, but for our next generation, because it's super important for us to start breaking those generational curses. We aren't going to know what those curses are if we're not talking about them, if we're not addressing them, if
Mhm.
we're not sure what they are. And therapy is a good tool for figuring out what those generational curses are. I have a question for you.
Mhm.
I know that you are positive, sis, and you happy, sis, but all of us, there's not a person on this planet that hasn't been affected in some way. What is something you feel like you could benefit from with hypnotherapy? Or just
So
therapy since you ain't never been to therapy, just any therapy.
right. So for me, I think I mentioned this on the show before. Actually, I know I have. I recently went through a rites of passage program, and within that rites of passage program, one of the things that we did was go back through our life. So that reflective piece, we had to go all the way back to the year we were conceived, all and then talk to our parents and see what was going on in our lives for the parts we can't remember, and just each year of your life go through what happened, what stands out, what impacted you. And that brought a lot of things to my attention on why I do a lot of the things that I do that I had never even thought about before,
Mm-hmm.
or things that impacted me in ways. And one thing for me that the whole journey ended up teaching me, and then being reflective in this time of quarantine as well, is that one huge revelation I came upon is that I gave my joy away, because my sister, which we know, Chanel, she always just says like, you just used to be so joyful, like you used to be so happy. And most people, still know me as being happy. I'm still happy, but she says nonchalant is an understatement. A lot of times when we talk, she's like, "You are so nonchalant," like it's an understatement. And so when I was going through and going back through my life and asking the questions to the people, and she said that again. She said it multiple times before, but that moment it stood out to me, and I was like, okay, where did it go? Like, she's not saying this for no reason. And I acknowledge that it's a thing each time. So I'm like, so where did it go? So I had to sit with self and kind of do some reflecting and look at parts of my life and relationships I had been in. And I realized that I had given a lot of my joy away to people that did not deserve it. Because I'm a helper, I'm a doer, I'm a giver, I'm a pusher, I'm a promoter. And so that's my energy. And people with that energy, because I know is people like you, because you're also that person. So it's, so this is a message. Okay, receive this. We attract vampires. We attract vampires because people see that energy and that light, and they like, "Ooh, what is that over there?" And they want to get close to it, and they want to have some, and then they want to have some more, and then but they're not necessarily pouring into you, so the depletion happens. And so, looking at a few of my past relationships, actually consecutively, I was like, "Oh, I gave it away." That's exactly what happened. Like I was in mid conversation with somebody, and I was like, "Oh." That's where it went. I passed it to someone else and I never got it back. And so that is actually something I think I can benefit with talking to a therapist with, or doing hypnotherapy and seeing the source of that. I don't think it's anything wrong with being a doer, a lover, a giver, a supporter. But where I am in my life now is I'm actively trying to and working to getting my joy back. Actively working to pouring into me, because I don't, not nearly enough. I have to fight myself to be like, buy this for yourself. Or somebody be like, hey, can I borrow $200? Here you go. Something costs $50, and I be like,
girl, and I think, and I want to definitely talk about that, because, and I think we had a show before where we talked about it, but it's not enough. That was the thing for me that I dealt with a lot this last couple weeks. Not necessarily the giving of the joy, the way it felt, and dealing with the way it felt when I didn't receive it back. So dealing with expectations of, why am I actually giving? Like, what am I doing it for? So that I'm keeping center focus of that and understanding, but also recognizing that, hell, I need to give it to myself, and I need to be okay with giving it to myself. And it's not that I'm being selfish, it's balance. Like, if you
and
are
okay
giving,
with saying no.
And here's the thing, I became
Can
okay
you
with
normalize
saying no.
no?
I would say no, but then I would feel guilty for saying no. So that was the thing for me. Like, at first I would have an issue with saying no. If somebody asked me something, I was overextended all the time. And then, I hit that rock bottom of overextension, where I was just like, look, I can't make it to your thing today. It was short notice, or I'm just tired, or I'm not available emotionally, and I just can't. So I began to master the no. What I hadn't done was be okay with it all the time. So I would say it, mean it, but then would feel bad about it. So now I'm like, I really just should have just did it and mustered through. And then that also that depletes you as well as carrying around that guilt and beating yourself up about stuff. So that was something that I needed to deal with. And something else that I look forward to, I told you about the self-saboteur. That back of my mind that's always like, girl, don't do it yet. You're not ready. You need to have this, and this, instead of start small. Like, yeah, we not here, but let's start here, and it'll
start somewhere to build to the
you got to start somewhere to build. And so really just silencing that self-saboteur. Also people pleasing. I think that as Black women especially, in many different spaces, we're still living in that space of having to please others to be seen, and having to fit a standard to be seen. And so just wanting to free myself of that so I can free my daughter of that. Like, so much of my therapeutic journey is to make sure that I'm being the woman I want her to grow up to be, not just her growing up to be the woman I'm telling her she should be. If it's so great to be that woman, why not start with me? I need to live her as well. So, setting an example. And so I
think expectations is a big one too.
Ooh,
like, if when you've lived your life a certain way, people keep you at that standard. I'm not saying that you shouldn't keep yourself at that standard. You know, when you dope, be dope. But it's like, but sometimes I can't, you know, or people's ideals of you, because that's another thing. Like, I'm dope and this is where I am, but you have an ideal of me that's up here. But that has nothing to do with me. Your ideal of me, because I'm a person. You know what I'm saying? I'm a human being, and so whatever that ideal you have set, I don't have to try to reach that because you said that. I'm still me, and I'm a human being. I think that's a thing that I'm coming to terms with as well, because I feel like a lot of people go, "Whoa, Natalie," and they put me up here, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm dope." But I ain't finna try to get up there. Like stay up there.
Let me tell you, I remember getting into a big debate with somebody, and you know, don't y'all come for me because I ain't saying nothing bad about her. I'm just making a point because you know, the beehive be annoying with that. It's like nobody down in y'all, girl, just chill. Like really, you don't have to start, you know, get information, chill out. But you know, I got into a conversation once with someone that was, you know, admires Beyonce a great deal. And I was like, yeah, you know, she does a lot of dope stuff. You know, I'm not necessarily in the beehive, but she does dope things. Sure. Yeah, and I think they felt offended as lots of beehivers do, that I wasn't making such a big deal out of it. And I'm like, I do think she does a lot, but she also has a lot. She has a lot. She has a lot of staff. Okay, listen. Beyonce's not cleaning her house every single day. Baby. So I can't be Beyonce every day. Okay. When Beyonce needs to go to work and she needs to go to a business meeting, she already knows who's going to watch her kids. I have to secure a babysit if I don't have school. So that's extra work, you know. Beyonce's not always going to do her shopping. We done seen her at a Target here and there, you know, do a photo op there, great. But every single time she needs something in her house, she's not the one going to run that errand. She has someone for her. So I'm like, yes, I think she does some dope stuff, but she also got some advantages that I don't have. And so I can't always be up here today. That's not the bar that I'm setting for myself. I'm setting a realistic bar for my life and where I'm at right now. And because I still got to worry about going to get the toilet paper and these kids is low on cereal and we you know, somebody got to go and drop this off at school.
My son was cussing me out for bananas today. He ate the last banana yesterday, and I just get it off Amazon. I get it shipped to the house. So he's like, I want bananas. There's no bananas. I'm like, I'm sorry, babe. You know, I was busy because normally I would order it before it runs out. But I've been busy. Like this weekend was busy, okay? And so he's like, so where's these bananas, lady? You know? So I'm like, okay, I have a specific phone with the Amazon stuff on there. So I'm like, find the pink phone. So he's looking, he's like, I can't find the pink phone. He brings me the red phone and he's like, here, use the red phone. He's 3, by the way.
It works. Just get my bananas.
He's 3. So I'm like, okay. So I'm in the Amazon and I'm going through. Then they didn't have an organic banana. So I'm like, let me see if they got a different kind of banana. I give them a regular banana. And then they like delivery. Typically it's only 2-hour delivery. They said they ain't had no delivery till tomorrow. So now he's like, so I ain't finna have no bananas. What you telling me, woman?
And to Mayana, are you crazy, lady? Oh, well, y'all need you to put on your shoes, mama, and head to the store, grab you a man.
It was funny because I was on the phone with Carlisa, and so he just turned and looked at her. It was video chat, and he was like, TT Lisa, can you bring me some bananas? And
somebody go give me a banana.
Somebody bring me some bananas, okay?
One way or another, I'm gonna get me some banana eating up in here this morning.
And what's hilarious is that she happens to be in the area and she called and she was like, I'm gonna bring my baby some bananas. And she literally pulled up and had a bag of bananas and brought him some bananas. And he was on the porch like, bananas? Squad. Okay. Teamwork makes the dream work.
That baby, he can't be waking up to no bananas. Everything else is right in the life. But if it ain't no bananas,
it's a problem. He be dreaming about bananas. He still be asleep like banana. When you wake up, you can have one. Wake all the way up first before you start asking for bananas. He know where they at. I still right next to the bedroom door.
That's his jam.
And he grabs a banana in the morning. That's what he does.
Well, he and Tyron would get along because he's always, I still remember him being about 4 or 5 and we was at Target. And he was like, "Can I have something?" I was like, "Oh God, you need, I'm about to go." He was like, "No, I want this banana." And he just wanted one banana. He didn't want no chocolate. He didn't want no candy. He wanted a banana. He just wanted a banana. I said, I felt so bad. And the little cashier, she was like, "That just really touched me." I said, "Thank you. Please bring up this banana so we
Please bring up the banana. Get another one. You want 2 bananas?
He didn't want the whole bunch, girl. He just took one off the bunch, just one banana. But yes, make sure that baby got bananas come tomorrow. Okay, don't be.
He got his banana. Well, it's gonna be
indeed. So while we normally go until 10 p.m. We are going to end a little bit earlier today because I am still working on prioritizing my energy, right?
Yes. Self-care, sis. It's the me first movement, sis.
It's the me first, and I'm not going to be eating late because I'm the me first trying to drop some of this weight. So, I need to not do it too much later than now. But next week, I want to have a very special episode. I'm still in the process of hopefully having people that are willing to have this conversation. We are putting together a Just Listen forum. So we have a male guest already that's going to come on that has joined us before. So I'll tell you more about that. And we are hoping to have 2 other males and some female guests as well to participate in a Just Listen forum. So there will be rules to this. That means that while men get to have the opportunity to say what they need for Black women to just listen about and just hear them out on, all women, including myself and Natalie, will be muted. We cannot talk. We cannot say a word. And then women will have the opportunity to just listen. And the whole point of this forum will be about healing, because I think that one of the hugest issues that we have with connecting to each other is not being able to hear one another and feeling so unheard. And so we need to listen to understand and not listen to respond. And so we want people that are willing to listen to understand and to hear and to not respond. And then we're going to have a discussion about it. So we're going to each get a time to say something. I just need you to listen to this. And then you are to say what it is that you need to get out there, that you feel unheard about as a Black woman or man, and that you want to be understood, and you have to listen. So you're not going to have control. You're not going to be able to unmute yourself and have control over the whole thing. And even me, who's very opinionated, ain't going to be able to interrupt, ain't going to be able to say nothing. Just listen. Okay, so if you're interested and you are able to be to just listen, reach out to us and let us know if you would like to be a part of that Just Listen forum. What do you think about that, sis?
I think that sounds fun. I think there needs to be more opportunities for us to just listen to each other. For one of the points that we made earlier about trauma spaces and speaking from that trauma space and protecting that trauma space, we get real upset when something triggers a trauma space within us and listening goes out of the window. Well, we can't heal and we can't work to a resolution if we don't listen. So I'm excited about it.
All right, so then go on and get some extra people to come on that can just listen. Now, we don't want nobody that ain't gonna be able to just listen. Because you ain't gonna be able to talk. I'm serious. You're gonna be muted.
How about we ejecting people?
We
It's about hit the button.
This is all about healing. We are not here to injure, but we do need to get to a space where we can hear each other, and start to really facilitate communication. This is really getting out of hand. We're so divided. We're divisive more and more each day. Every time I had to take a Facebook break and everything in these 2 weeks where I wasn't logging on that much, just because it just gets all so heavy with seeing us argue with each other so much, because we need each other. We're stronger together than we are separate. And so the best way to join hands is to be able to listen and to understand and hear each other out. And so I'm excited. I can't wait to speak my just listen pieces, even if they're not necessarily pertaining to me, but just things that I've observed. I had a real good one with Russia a little bit today, where we talked about submission. And so what that looks like and how to have that real proper expectation so we can get along, because that seems to be an issue as well. So that is what we have lined up for next week. What's your closing thoughts on therapy matters, sis?
Just do it like Nike. I agree with Miss Renee that though, because I ain't gonna stunt on y'all. Like I be going every 2 weeks or something because I've never been, but I am an advocate for it. I've never been for myself, but I do often recommend people to seek therapy because it is a healing space. It is a space, and I mentioned I teach therapeutic sessions. I am not a therapist. I did not go to school for that, but I do teach therapeutic sessions because we do have to get this out of us. If it's trauma, if it's things we've experienced growing up, if it's just day-to-day life, we have to get these things out of us, and we have to learn to be reflective of what roles we play in situations so that we cannot get ourselves in those situations again. And we have to actively work towards our healing to be our best self. And so, and not to traumatize someone else along the way. And so therapy is important for you to be whole. To be whole and to be happy. Not saying you can't be happy without therapy, but there is always some things that's back there a lot of times that we are not paying attention to, that we try to ignore, that we try to push to the side. But we can find roots to it, and we can exterminate those roots, and we can heal by talking to someone who has the tools to get us where we need to be.
Facts. And my closing thought is simply because you deserve it. You deserve it to be healthy. You deserve to not be in pain, to not hurt. You deserve to be validated. You deserve to be acknowledged. You deserve to be made whole. And so therapy matters because you matter and you deserve it. So that's my closing thought. Yes, that's
And
it.
that's a thought it was, sis.
That's it. That's all. So
'Cause
thank
you
y'all for
matter.
joining us tonight. We look forward to being back and seeing you all next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. All right now. Good night, y'all.